Hey everybody, this is Claire, and this is Small Joyful Things. As always, I go to thrift stores, or sometimes I buy things from Craigslist or estate sales, although I have been going to thrift stores quite a lot lately. And I'm always looking for really beautiful things, and I try to find out as much as I can about them, and then bring them home and tell you guys about them. So here's what I've got today. I really hope that this shows up on the camera, like as much as you guys can see it as well. Well, as much as I can see it, it is really, really beautiful. And I am so happy that I found it because this effect is absolutely out of this world. I don't think the camera really kind of catches just how much it shines. It's like gold. It's really, really beautiful. This is, if I'm careful with it, like you can see the ring there. So pretty. This is clear glass. If you're wondering, and it is carnival glass. You can see that where it's been sprayed with this stuff called iridized salts or whatever. It would have been sprayed on while the piece is wet, like it hasn't quite solidified, and then it gives it this amazing iridescence. And obviously so-called carnival glass because back in the day when it was being made in the early 20th century, they would have given these pieces away as part of like a carnival prize. They were almost, they weren't really considered like actual good stuff or whatever. Collecting this really only became a thing much later on. And there was a revival in the 70s of like making this style of stuff again. And a lot of the old patterns were reproduced. This, however, I think is my very first piece of actual original carnival glass. And I'm really happy about it because I know the stuff on site. I've seen enough pictures of it. I know exactly what it is. I've never seen any in Vancouver before this. It just does not really show up very often. And this is definitely what I would consider the very classic carnival glass, the marigold with the golden kind of lustre or whatever you want to call it, the actual just plain bowl or whatever. And for comparison, I want to show you guys, just so you know, I already know that this is Fenton. It was not that hard to find, which was great. Fenton were making carnival glass like the original carnival glass basically back in the day. They, as far as I know, they actually invented the technique, and they were trying to kind of reproduce the face, I think it's called Fascian glass, the lustrous kind of shimmery glass or whatever being done by by Tiffany and Lowett's, and they were basically trying to do it on the cheap, and they came up with this. But anyway, the 1970s revival stuff looks like this. Now, I've done a video about this before. This is a piece of Indiana glass from the 70s. They got into kind of reproducing a lot of this as well. And you can see that the luster is quite a bit more shiny and quite different. Like, it's still iridescent, but it's not the same kind of iridescent. It looks kind of a more glossy, more, I don't know what you want to call that. There's more kind of facets, I think, to it. This stuff is like, it's far more uneven. You can see rings here. And you can definitely see it on the underside. This ring of iridescence where they would have sprayed it on. And I see it you can see it very clearly here. This ring around the outside. It is just, it's so pretty. I could geek out about this stuff forever. It's just, I finally get to pick it up and hold it and touch it and look at it and kind of play with it. And like, you got to understand, when you look at pictures of this all day online, it does not communicate the full experience of actually handling old glass. Like actually being able to pick it up and hold it and play with it and turn it over and like hold it up close and feel the weight of it. That is a very different experience. I'm so happy I found this. Anyway, bought this in a thrift store for $7. I saw this on the shelf from across the room. I walked over and I thought, wow, that looks like original carnival glass. And I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be $40 or $50. If it's original, it's going to be like 100 years old. Who would sell it for less? Turned it over, saw the $7 price mark, and had a heart attack. I was like, I have to buy this. I have to do a video on it. It's so, so pretty. Very, very happy about it. Anyway, before I get any further into that, before I continue geeking out, let's measure it up. It is 9 inches across, and I'm doing this right about a little over 2.5 inches tall at the highest points. It is, it's so pretty. Another thing I'd like to check for as well is that I have my black light with me all the time. And you can usually tell, you can see that slight green flash there. Doesn't show up very much on the camera, but again, this is a very powerful blacklight torch, a very powerful UV torch. And generally, if I'm at thrift stores and I have a chance to, whip out the torch and just basically hold it and just swipe it across the shelf, vintage glass is more likely to pop up green or yellow. It'll have a, like regular glass or just, the more modern stuff will have, if it has any kind of fluorescence, it'll be like pink or purple or nothing. And, or it'll be like, if it's lead crystal, it may flash like kind of more white or ice blue. The old stuff tends to be green. Don't know why, but it definitely means that that's the stuff I take a second look at when I'm actually if I'm kind of wandering around a store or whatever, looking at random stuff. Anyway, so what else do we know about this? I've said already, it's Fenton. Original Fenton. Here we go. So this is what it is. It is Fenton Holly Marigold, and you can see here it's discontinued and it was produced from 1911. Like early. early. Lovely. Early 20th century. So this is now officially an antique, more than 100 years old. So this one, if we take a look at it here, is the 9-inch round crimped bowl. If this will load up for me. There we go. Yeah, it says the width here 9¼ inches, carnival press glass, blah, 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 crafted in the United States. Obviously not in stock here, but this at least gives us a reference for the actual pattern, which is really helpful. Now, here's the thing. Fenton started reproducing their carnival glass in the 70s, and there's no question, like, they revived the techniques of making carnival and reintroduced carnival glass products that became bestsellers and known throughout the world. They used their own original molds they had bought from other glass makers that had gone out of business, blah, blah, many new molds. Now, the thing is that I'm pretty sure that Fenton started using an embossed mark or whatever on their new stuff. And essentially, they started putting the Fenton logo and an embossed mark or whatever on their stuff in the, from the 70s onwards. I think they started doing it here as well. You can see here some examples of what that actually looks like. The company made the decision to trademark their modern output of Carnival, the word Fenton inscribed in an oval cartouche, so that collectors of early classic Fenton Carnival, which is unmarked, could tell the difference. Very nice of them to do so. I've seen a fair bit of Fenton now, and I always kind of look for that. It's like, does it, like, if I think something is Fenton, I always kind of check and see, does it actually have the logo embossed on it somewhere? Because if it has the logo, it's after them. It's the 1970s or later. So, so pretty. Just, Okay, so having said all of that, what is it worth? Let's go back to the eBay. Fenton, the name of Fenton Marigold Holly, the 9-inch bowl. There are a range of prices. There are a range of what I would say is very optimistic prices, especially for the 9-inch bowl. It also gets a little bit mixed up with the stag and holly pattern, which is slightly different. So you're going to have to be careful, very careful. The other thing as well is that the shipping costs for a lot of these are going to be astronomical because it's a bowl, it's quite large, the box is going to be quite big. Now, there's 150 pieces of Fenton Marigold currently on eBay. And if you look at sold items, a bunch have definitely sold in the last 90 days. Again, although the market for carnival glass has not been great lately, there is still a market. So for the older stuff especially, I think it's well worth looking at. This is going to, I've kind of taken a quick scan over this, and it does like vary quite a bit. There's one here sold for $40, and that's with, like again, the shipping costs are fairly high. It's also important to note that there's a couple of different sizes of this bowl. There's an 11-inch as well as a 9-inch, and there are smaller ones as well that would be the dessert bowls. And you really have to check carefully. It's not obvious looking at a lot of these, whether that is the one that they mean or not. Like this is the 9.25 one. So a few others there. There's at least one other there that's like an 11-inch. This is the one that threw me for a second until I read it was actually Marigold and Moonstone. So it's like, it's hard to see from the photograph here. This is on clear glass, as in it's iridescent, but the glass underneath is clear. This is not. The glass underneath will be opalescent. So that one is a good bit rarer, and that's why it sold for almost $400. So yeah, quite happy about this. It's such a lovely piece. I'll be putting it up on Etsy. I'm sure it'll go to someone who's really going to love it. For an antique, I have to say, I've already checked around. There are no chips, no cracks, no nothing. There's barely even a scratch on it. The base is perfect. I did notice that there, you can see a little bit there. There's a little bit of imperfections, and I would say that little, like, there you go, there's a scratch or two in the actual iridescence on the surface, which is probably not unusual considering how old it is, but it is in great condition otherwise for something that is this old. I'm going to just geek out for a while. So here's my small joyful thing for the day. I hope you guys like it as well. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.